I'm Harper Ellison, the youngest daughter of the Ellison family, the name that, the second you drop it in Boston, conjures images of lavish charity galas, magnetic political speeches, and smiles drilled into us from childhood to look flawless in front of every camera. Growing up, I was used to custom designer dresses. Heels that pinched like hell, but I still had to glide in gracefully, and answering every reporter's question with that sweet, airtight tone that gave nothing away. My life was one long, meticulously directed play, and I was the leading lady who always had to nail her role. Then I met Rowan. We met during freshman orientation week, in a required American Lit class. She was slouched in the back row of the lecture hall, wearing a ratty old hoodie, messy ponytail, chewing on the end of her pen like she was taking notes for her last shot at changing her life. I was front row, perfectly put together dress. Brand new MacBook open in front of me. When the professor split us into discussion groups, I turned around and accidentally locked eyes with her. Rowan smiled, not the polished, polite kind I was raised on, but a real one, a little crooked from shyness, flashing that small chipped tooth. From then on, we were inseparable. Rowan came from a dying steel town in Ohio, where the mill that once kept everyone employed was now just rust and ghosts. She was here on a full ride. And every time she talked about her family, her voice dropped. Her dad was sick, really sick. Her mom had passed years ago. Rowan sent almost every extra dollar from her jobs back home. She worked graveyard shifts at a fast food joint near the dorms, coming back smelling like fryer grease until the next morning. I'd find her passed out in the library some days, head down on the table, arms wrapped tight around a beat-up textbook she'd checked out because she couldn't afford to buy it. In return, I taught Rowan the things I'd been raised with: how to pick a dress for an internship interview, how to hold a wine glass like you belonged, how to answer, "So what does your family do?" without blinking. But Rowan taught me how to actually live. She'd drag me out of fancy parties for late-night diner runs, laughing loud without caring who heard, saying the things out loud that I'd never dared admit even to myself. We fit together in this weird, perfect way. I showed her a world of polish and perfection. She showed me one that was raw and real. But no matter how close we got, there was always this invisible wall between us, one made of money. This week, my family was hosting their annual gala at the Beacon Hill mansion. Mom had shipped me 3 designer gowns with a note: "You need to be the center of attention, Harper. Don't disappoint me." I stood in front of the dorm mirror trying them on, adjusting every fold, practicing that effortless smile. Rowan was sprawled on my bed with a bag of chips, watching me with this half-amused, half-sad look. "You look gorgeous," she said, voice rough from pulling another night shift. "But are you happy?" I froze, hand still on the hem of the dress. "I have to be. It's my responsibility." Rowan sat up, brushing crumbs off her faded jeans. "Responsible to who? Your family, or yourself?" I didn't answer. Instead, I stared out the window at Boston's lights glittering like fake diamonds. Rowan didn't get it, or maybe she got it too well, that I didn't have a choice. I'd been born wearing this perfect mask, and taking it off meant losing everything. Meanwhile, Rowan had another late shift that night. She'd be behind the counter in her paper hat, smiling at drunk customers, counting tips to send home to her dad. While I was raising champagne flutes under crystal chandeliers, she'd be wiping down tables sticky with ketchup. We spent every day together, talked until the early hours, shared every secret, except one. I'd never admitted that every time she came back exhausted, hair messy, eyes shadowed, my heart did this strange, aching thing. Not pity. Something deeper, warmer. Something that scared the hell out of me. And I knew, deep down, Rowan was hiding the same thing every time she watched me try on dresses or talk about those fancy parties. Her eyes weren't just admiring or envious. They were intense. Held back behind that tough shell she wore to protect herself. The money wall wasn't just about our backgrounds. It was the barrier keeping us from saying what actually mattered. But I had no idea that the perfect mask I'd worn for years was about to be peeled away, piece by piece. By Rowan, the one person who saw straight through me. That weekend, campus felt different. Luxury cars lined up outside the dorms, uniformed drivers waiting. Students whispering every time someone informal stepped out. I knew immediately, my family had arrived. Mom, Dad, and my older brother were visiting their darling daughter at the end of the semester. Sure. Dad wanted to check I was upholding the Ellison image. Mom wanted photos for the society pages, and my brother, the heir apparent, was there to remind me I was still part of the bigger plan. I waited in the dorm lobby in the cream cashmere dress Mom had picked out last season, hair in a perfect high bun, smile rehearsed since morning. When Dad walked in, he hugged me just warmly enough for the cameras, then whispered, "You look acceptable. Keep your posture tonight." The visit was really a private dinner at the fanciest restaurant near campus. Dad had booked the entire top floor to avoid prying eyes. Rowan knew about it, and I'd begged her to come so I wouldn't feel so suffocated. "Please come with me. It's just dinner." She texted back, "Yeah. I'll go." I never imagined that choice would blow everything apart. Rowan showed up at the restaurant door in her one decent shirt, an old white button-down faded at the collar, dark jeans, and worn sneakers. She'd tried to tame her hair. But I could still see the insecurity flash in her eyes as she stepped into a room full of tailored suits and evening gowns. My dad gave her a quick once-over. Then the polite smile he saved for regular friends. He introduced her as Harper's close friend from school, and everyone nodded like they cared. But I knew they'd forget her name in 5 minutes. Dinner started fine, grades, extracurriculars, future plans. Then Dad shifted to family legacy. "Harper," he said. Voice warm but commanding, swirling his red wine. "You know we've been in talks with the Harringtons for years about a strategic alliance. James is impressive, Harvard grad. Running their investment fund now. When you come home for the holidays, I want you spending more time with him. Get to know each other." Every eye turned to me. I gave the perfect practiced smile and nodded. "Yes, Dad. I understand." But I glanced at Rowan. She was staring at her plate, knuckles white around her fork. James Harrington. I'd never told Rowan about him because I'd never taken it seriously. To me it was just part of the script laid out since I was a kid, top schools. Clean image, marry the right person to solidify political and financial power. I figured I had years to delay it. But hearing Dad say it out loud, in front of everyone, in front of Rowan, made it brutally real. Rowan barely spoke for the rest of the meal. She nodded when spoken to, gave thin smiles when required, turned down more wine. When dessert ended, she said she was tired and left early. I walked her out. "Rowan, are you okay?" I asked, worried. She looked at me for a long moment. Eyes dark. "I'm fine. Just tired. Stay with your family." But I knew she wasn't. 2 days later, Rowan started avoiding me. No quick replies to texts. No more sprawling on my bed with chips, no library study dates. She claimed extra shifts. I went to the fast food place after her shift ended and waited. She came out smelling like grease, stopped when she saw me. "Why are you avoiding me?" I asked straight out. Rowan sighed, leaning against the wall. "Harper. You heard your dad. You've got this whole future mapped out. And me," she gave a bitter laugh. I'm just some poor scholarship kid from the sticks trying to claw my way out of poverty. I don't belong in your world. And I don't want to watch you walk into that gilded cage. Rowan, you're my best friend. That doesn't change just because, doesn't change. Her eyes filled, voice cracking. You'll marry James Harrington or someone like him. You'll live in big houses, go to big parties, have kids with some fancy last name. I'll go back to Ohio. Take care of my dad, work myself to death paying off loans. We're on different roads, Harper. I wanted to say I didn't want that future, that I hated it. But the words stuck. Because deep down, I knew she was partly right, I'd never been brave enough to fight them. Rowan turned away, voice soft. I think we need some space for a while. She walked into the dark toward the dorms, leaving me standing there. Feeling my perfect mask tightening around my throat for the first time. The first cracks had appeared, not just in our friendship, but in something deeper we hadn't dared name. And I was terrified that if I didn't do something, those cracks would spread and shatter everything. Snow fell heavy that night, big flakes blanketing the whole campus in silence. I was supposed to be back in Beacon Hill at the family's annual Christmas gala, everyone toasting that Ellison legacy, James Harrington the guest of honor. Mom constantly nudging me toward him with meaningful smiles. I'd worn the floor-length wine-red gown she'd chosen, deep V-neck elegant but sexy. Hair in an elaborate updo with a few perfect curls loose. I'd smiled, shaken hands, slow-danced waltzes with James while Dad watched approvingly from across the room. But halfway through, when James leaned in and whispered, "We make a great pair, Harper," I suddenly couldn't breathe. I excused myself for air, stepped onto the freezing balcony. And then I ran. I called a cab in my full gown, left my fur coat behind, grabbed only my clutch, and headed back to campus, back to Rowan. I knocked on her dorm door near 1 a.m., snow melting in my hair, dripping cold down my neck. Rowan opened it in her old hoodie and gym shorts. Eyes sleepy. She stared, stunned. "Harper. Jesus, what are you doing here? That dress, you're freezing." I pushed inside without a word, slammed the door. Her room was the usual chaos, books piled everywhere, clothes drying on every surface, half-eaten ramen cups in the corner, cheap coffee smell in the air. It was the total opposite of the opulence I'd just fled, but that mess let me breathe. I collapsed onto her bed, red gown pooling over the rumpled sheets. Tears finally came, unstoppable. "I hate it," I choked out. "I hate all of it. Hate smiling when I don't mean it, pretending I like James Harrington. Being their perfect doll on display. I'm not their Harper Ellison. I just want to be Harper, Rowan." Rowan knelt in front of me, taking my shaking, freezing hands in hers. "Hey, breathe. You're shaking." I shook my head, mascara running. "You don't get it. They've planned my whole life, marry James, kids. Keep the power and money cycle going. I don't have a choice. I'm so tired." Rowan was quiet a moment, gently wiping my tears with her hoodie sleeve. Then she sat beside me, pulled me into her arms. I rested my head on her shoulder, heard her heart racing. "I do get it," she whispered, voice rough. "More than you think. You've got everything, money, status, a bright future, but don't you see? I've been standing right here, waiting for you to really see me. I'd wait forever." I lifted my head, looked into her eyes. In the dim desk lamplight I saw the pain, the longing, the love she'd hidden so long. Not friendship. Something so much more. "Rowan," I breathed. And then neither of us thought anymore. She leaned down, lips brushing mine, soft at first, testing, then fierce. Like years of pent-up feeling exploding at once. I kissed her back, arms around her neck, pulling her closer. It was hot, desperate. Tasting of my tears and her coffee breath. My expensive red gown wrinkled under her hands, her old hoodie slipped off one shoulder. We fell back onto the bed. Snow still falling thick outside, but in that tiny room everything felt like it was on fire. Then, like ice water, reality hit. Rowan suddenly stopped, breathing hard. Gently pushing me back. She sat up, turned away, hands in her hair. "We can't," she whispered. "We can't do this." I lay there, lips burning, heart pounding. "Why?" "Rowan. You know why." She turned, eyes wet. "You're Harper Ellison. You've got family, obligations, James Harrington waiting. And me. I'm just some poor girl from Ohio with nothing but a scholarship and a chip on my shoulder. If we keep going, you'll lose everything. Your family will never accept it. And I won't be the one who ruins your life." I sat up, grabbed her hand. "I don't care. I don't want that life anymore. You say that now," she cut in, voice breaking. "But when you calm down, when your parents call. When the whole world looks at you like you've failed them, you'll regret it. And I'll be the one left behind." Silence filled the room. Just the soft thud of snow against the window. I looked at Rowan, the only person who made me feel alive, and realized this love wasn't just beautiful. It was dangerous. We could lose everything, our friendship, our futures, ourselves. That kiss had shattered the wall of silence between us. But instantly, fear of what we'd lose built a new one, taller, thicker, and so much more painful. Everything started crumbling in just 1 week. After that snowy night, Rowan and I fell into a secret, sweet, agonizing spiral. We weren't best friends anymore. We kissed in hidden library corners, held hands under study tables. Stayed tangled in her messy bed until dawn. I started dreading weekend trips to Boston, hating Mom's calls about responsibility. Rowan smiled more. But I saw the thin layer of worry always in her eyes, like she was waiting for the bomb to drop. And it did. First from Rowan's side. One afternoon in the library, she came running up, face pale, gripping her phone like it might shatter. She pulled me into an empty hallway, voice trembling. "My mom. She knows." My stomach dropped. "Knows what?" "Everything." Rowan swallowed hard. "I keep the letters you wrote me, handwritten ones, in a box under my bed." She was cleaning. "Found them, read them all." She called this morning, her voice broke. I'd never seen Rowan cry like that, silent tears, pure despair. She said, "I'm committing a mortal sin against God. That if I don't stop, don't fix it, she'll disown me." Quoted scripture, Harper. Said I'd go to hell and she couldn't bear to look at her sinful daughter anymore. I hugged her, but she stayed stiff. Her family was devout Catholic Midwest, church was everything, faith their lifeline through poverty and loss. Being gay wasn't just taboo to them, it was unforgivable sin. Rowan pulled away, wiping her face on her sleeve. "I don't know what to do. I can't lose my family. Dad needs his meds, if Mom really cuts me off. I don't know how he'll survive." I wanted to say we'd figure it out, that I'd help, but before I could, the second bomb hit. That night, my dad called. Not the usual assistant-relayed message. Dad himself, voice ice cold, "Come home this weekend. We need to talk." I knew something was wrong. His silence was scarier than yelling. The weekend, back in the Beacon Hill Mansion's grand living room, facing Mom, Dad, and my brother. No shouting, no calling me disgraceful. Just that deep, cutting disappointment, the elite's sharpest weapon. Dad placed a folder on the table. Reports from the Family Foundation's scholarship fund, the one that paid for students like Rowan. You know what we can do, he said calmly. Her scholarship can be revoked any time for failure to meet moral standards. She'd have to drop out, repay everything, carry massive debt. You understand the consequences. Mom added softly, knife sharp, Harper, you're an Ellison. You carry our name's honor. We don't forbid crudely. But some choices have consequences, not just for you, but for those around you. My hands went ice cold. They knew, from my roommate who'd worriedly reported seeing texts. No need for private investigators, their world ran on quiet connections and paid loyalty. I didn't cry. I just nodded. I understand. Back at school. I found Rowan in her messy room, eyes swollen, the open letter box on the table, my loving, naive words now evidence. I told her everything. The meeting. The scholarship threat. Rowan listened, then gave a bitter smile. See? I told you. We can't beat them, Harper. You choose me, you kill your future. I choose you. I kill my family. She stood, packed the letters away, voice firm. I think we stop here. Before it gets worse. I grabbed her hand, begged, don't. I'll find a way. I'll talk to them, Harper, she interrupted, eyes full of pain but resolute. You can't fight them. And I can't let my dad die because I can't send money. I can't let my mom cry every night thinking her daughter's damned. She let go of my hand. You're the only person I've ever truly loved. But my family's faith and your family's honor, they're bigger than us. The room went silent except the wall clock ticking. I walked out of Rowan's room that night empty, too numb for tears. We'd had each other for one brief, beautiful, intense moment. But the clash of faith and honor, the heaviest legacies from both our families, had ripped us apart without mercy. Winter break came like a sentence. After the Beacon Hill talk, my parents decided I needed rest and reflection. No staying at school, they sent someone to bring me home immediately. Rowan and I only managed a few short texts before they confiscated my phone, temporarily, locked my laptop, turned the house I'd grown up in into a prison. I lay in my huge bedroom staring at snow-covered rose gardens, wondering what Rowan was doing. Working nights, maybe sitting by her dad's hospital bed in Ohio. I didn't know. Each day the ache grew tighter. Then on Christmas Eve, as we sat down to the traditional dinner, endless walnut table, hand-embroidered linens. Silver engraved with the family crest, the doorbell rang. The butler came in, hesitant. Sir, madam, there's a young visitor insisting on seeing Miss Harper. She says her name is Rowan. Dad set down his glass without looking up. Let her in. My heart slammed. Rowan. How the hell did she get here? The dining room doors opened. Rowan stepped in, shivering from cold. She wore her oldest, thickest coat, threadbare at the shoulders, over a sweater her mom knitted years ago. Hair wild from a 20-plus-hour bus ride, face pale, eyes shadowed. She clutched the straps of her cheap backpack, probably everything she brought. The table went dead silent. Mom looked her up and down like substandard merchandise. My brother smirked. Dad slowly dabbed his mouth with the silk napkin. Rowan stood in the middle of the opulent room, crystal chandelier, ancestor portraits, like she didn't belong. But she lifted her chin. Hello, sir, ma'am, she said. Voice hoarse from exhaustion but steady. I'm Rowan. I'm here for Harper. Dad smiled without warmth. Young lady, you've come to the wrong place. This isn't a college dorm. You should leave before we call security. Rowan didn't move. She met his eyes. I know exactly where I am. I spent every penny I saved on a bus ticket to get here. I'm not begging. I'm here to say Harper isn't property for you to plan a future for. Mom gave a sharp little laugh. This girl is rude. Harper is our daughter, an Ellison. You're just a charity scholarship recipient from our foundation. What right do you have to interfere in family matters? Rowan clenched her fists. I have no right when it comes to money or status. But I have the right to love Harper. And Harper has the right to live the life she wants, not be a puppet for your legacy. The air froze. Dad stood, voice low and commanding. You're playing with fire. Her scholarship, her father's medical funds, all can vanish with one call. Do you want to destroy your life and your family's over a childish impulse? I couldn't stay seated anymore. I shot up, chair crashing behind me. Everyone stared. I walked to Rowan, shaking but sure, and took her hand. Hers was ice cold, but that grip was the only real thing in the room. Enough, I said, voice clear. You don't need the scholarship to threaten Rowan. I don't need the money, the status, the inheritance. If that's the price for giving up the person I love, I walk away from it all right now. Mom went white. Harper. What are you saying? I'm saying it clearly, I went on, voice stronger. I renounce my inheritance. I don't want a cent if it means living a lie. I choose Rowan. I choose myself. Dad looked at me, the first time I'd ever seen him waver. Not angry. Just, powerless, a man used to controlling everything. Rowan turned to me, eyes wet. Harper, you don't have to do this. I don't want you losing everything for me. I smiled, squeezed her hand tighter. I'm not losing anything. I'm finally finding myself. The room stayed silent a long time. Dad finally sat, voice tired. You'll regret this, Harper. I shook my head. I'll only regret living the way you want me to. I pulled Rowan out of the dining room, down the cold hallway, through the heavy front doors. Snow still falling. But I didn't feel cold anymore. We stood on the steps, hand in hand, facing the wide world ahead, no money, no status, just us. For the first time in my life, I could breathe freely. 2 years have passed since that Christmas Eve. But sometimes I still wake up gasping from dreams of that huge Beacon Hill dining room. I'm not Harper Ellison anymore, not in the old sense. My family followed through, total cut-off, inheritance to my brother, my name erased from official records like I never existed. Rowan's scholarship stayed intact, maybe Dad avoided scandal, but we never took another dime from the foundation. We moved to Pittsburgh. An old industrial city in Pennsylvania where no one knows the Ellisons or Boston galas. Our apartment is on the 3rd floor of a rundown building, peeling paint, creaky stairs. Windows looking out on a dim street with yellow streetlights. It's rough, kitchen so small we bump into each other, bathroom always mildewy. Winter's freezing because the heat's always breaking. But it's ours. Really ours. Rowan works at a small machine shop on the edge of town. She comes home in grease-stained coveralls, hands calloused from bolts and welding. She's exhausted most nights, but she still smiles when she sees me, that real, unguarded smile. Her dad passed last year, her mom still hasn't forgiven her. Calls home are heavy silence or scripture lectures. Rowan doesn't cry anymore, but I know the scar's still there. I teach piano to kids at a community center nearby, working-class families, immigrants, kids struggling like we are. They play simple pieces on a scratched-up old upright. Calling me Miss Harper with excited voices. No more designer dresses, perfect updos, or practiced smiles. Short hair now, jeans and sweaters daily. I learned to cook cheap recipes off the internet, fix leaky faucets, live without a safety net of money and connections. We don't have a fairy tale ending. No big house. No fat bank account, no family blessings. Some nights I lie awake worrying about next month's rent, some days Rowan comes home late with a bruise from a shop accident. We fight over dumb stuff, who forgot milk, who left dishes piled up, then make up with quiet hugs. But one fall evening, we're sitting on the front steps under the yellow streetlight. Rowan holding a cheap beer, me leaning on her shoulder, watching sparse traffic go by. Do you regret it? She asks softly, like she's scared of the answer. I think about what we lost: luxury, security, family approval. Then what we gained: waking up next to Rowan every morning, kids' laughter when they hit their first right note, the freedom to choose my own life without permission. No, I say, lacing my fingers through hers. I don't regret it. The price, it was worth it. Rowan turns, eyes catching the light. She kisses me, slow, gentle. Like she's reminding us both we're still here, still together. We're not best friends anymore. We're partners, lovers, the only ones truly in each other's corner in this world. The scars from the past are still there, unanswered calls from Boston, letters from Ohio that go unread, nights I dream of the old mansion and wake anxious. But every morning next to Rowan, I know the freedom we chose, poor, sometimes lonely, is the most precious thing we've ever had. Under that streetlight, we sit a long time. Hands clasped. No need for more words. We're free. And we have each other. That's enough.